Welcome, everybody. Let's start the meeting. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Chris?
Here.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Here.
Mr. Trimmer?
Here.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Here.
And Mr. Wallace?
Here. Approval of minutes. The August 5th, 2013 special meeting minutes, the August 19th, 2013 special meeting minutes, the August 29th, 2013 special meeting work session minutes, and the August 29th, 2013 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Approval of financial report. Item 1, recommend approval of financial report for the month of August 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 2, recommend approval of accounts payable, payroll, and benefits expenditures for August 2013.
So moved. Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 3, recommend approval of advances and advance returns for the month of August 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 4, recommend approval of appropriations for fiscal 2013-14. Documents to follow.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 5, recommend approval of an amended certificate of resources for fiscal 2013-14. Document to follow.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item number 6, recommend that we table item 6.
So
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 7, recommend approval of a tuition rate of $289.61 per month, or $2,606.49 per year for the 2013-2014 school year.
So moved. Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 8, recommend approval of student activity budget and purpose statements for the 2013-2014 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 9, recommend approval of a letter of engagement with the auditor of the state for the audit of the West Branch Local School District basic financial statements and the expression of an opinion concerning whether the basic financial statements present fairly in all material respects the school's financial position, changes in financial position, and required budgetary comparisons in conformity with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. Fee for this service, subject to any amendments to the letter of engagement, is not to exceed $20,992. The cost of each of the prior 3 audits was $21,000 per year.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer, call the roll, please.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. There is nothing under accounts payable. Recognitions, Dr. Weingart?
Thank you. We have 2, and they're sort of general recognitions, but I don't want to start the year out and not recognize absolutely everybody who works here at the school and volunteers here at the school and serves the school district, because we had a very nice and a very smooth opening. We usually do, and it's a real tribute to everybody, but I thought this year was particularly good. One thing I'll just point out, West Branch covers 111 square miles, and just about everybody is bused. And so a lot of what goes on at the school district is controlled by the times that the buses come. And when you look and think about, especially here at the high school, the number of our kids who go to the Career Center, or what some of us who've been around for a while might call the vocational school, it's a really tight schedule that you have to keep. And believe it or not, a lot of what we do is dependent upon making sure that all the buses feeding in here get here at the right time and get those kids onto that one bus that then goes to the Career Center so that they can be there. And then in the afternoon, you reverse that process once again. Well, for years, we've tried to tweak this, and every year we kind of get a little better, a little closer with that. This year, and I see Mr. Kitzmiller back there as our middle school principal. Middle school and high school got together, and the middle school and the high school are on the same calendar now, or the same time. They come at the same time and are dismissed at the same time. We get on the buses at a common area, which is right to the south of us here. And again, that may not sound like a lot, but what it does is it picks up 5 to 7 to maybe 8 minutes. And I see some former elementary teachers here. It then spills down to what goes on at the elementary. So if we are late getting on buses here at the high school for some reason, then by the time they deliver those kids and then go back out to get the elementary kids to get them home, it can sometimes delay those kids being picked up and delay those kids getting home. So I just wanted to spend a little time thanking people and highlighting that, because it was about a year-long discussion to kind of do that and put that together. And what so far it has resulted in is our being able to dismiss here at the high school, middle school area much more efficiently, and we get out at least 10 minutes early, which means that the buses are getting to the elementary at least 10 minutes early, and that has made a tremendous difference. I usually, the first couple weeks of school, would count on at least a couple of phone calls a week from elementary parents wondering why it's so long for my child to get home. And I haven't had one call this year. So it's been a really good thing. And there have been many other things that happened, but I just wanted to highlight that as one that I would say for this year, after arm wrestling the bus schedule for years and years and years, that was a significant improvement. So I do want to share that with you. The second thing I wanted to talk for just a minute about, we had a wonderful weekend, and I know a number of people in this room and board members were able to participate in at least some of the events. West Branch, this is the 17th year, believe it or not, that we have had a Hall of Fame and inducted people into the Hall of Fame. We had a wonderful group this year who were inducted into the Hall of Fame, all of whom were able to be with us for all the different events. But I want to especially salute the West Branch Alumni Association. Before the ball game last Friday, they organized and hosted a very nice tailgate reception where families could all come together and friends could come and visit with them. Then we had an opportunity at the football game to introduce all of the new inductees. Once again, that is one of those things that we appreciate everybody's help in doing that, because the last thing we want to do is go overtime and then have a penalty for the football team. So there's a lot of stress and strain that goes with that, and then that went off without a hitch thanks to the work of many, many people, so we appreciate that. Then after the game, the Alumni Association hosts a very nice reception. And I know a lot of you have been able to do that, but I say to these students out here, as you graduate, it's turned into a real nice little impromptu homecoming. I bet you we had 200 people come through there. And you just spend 10 or 15 minutes while you're waiting for the parking lot to clear out. But it's a great time to see people, and people have been using that. So it was just a wonderful time to be a member of this community and to see so many people. So I want to thank the Alumni Association for doing that. And if that's not enough, then on Saturday we had here at the high school a very nice dinner, and that was followed by the actual award presentation in the auditorium. Once again, coordinated by a small group of dedicated folks from the West Branch Alumni Association. So I just wanted to highlight that and thank them, and thank everybody for Hall of Fame. It's a lot of work, but it's just a wonderful event and very affirming event. So thank you.
Okay, WBEA comments? WBCA comments? There were no visitors' comments, no correspondent. Report to the board. Testing update from Mr. Roger Kitzmiller.
We have Mr. Kitzmiller with us, and Mr. Kitzmiller has no hat on tonight, but he wears many throughout the day. And for the last couple of years, he has coordinated our testing for us. This year, which he's going to share with us a little different information, because our state report card has changed. One more if you can. Two more if you can. Okay. All right?
that we can share.
There you go.
Send it out there.
Thanks, sir.
All right, you're welcome. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity just to come on behalf of the district. As I serve, as Dr. Weingart said, as district test coordinator. Every year, we kind of give an update on the local report card and how the students have fared throughout the previous year. And it's a very interesting year because the local report card has changed quite a bit. If you've had a chance to go online and take a look at that, there is a whole lot more information this year, and there will be additional information to come even next year as we continue to move forward. And so what I've done is really put together a summary on page 1 that lists all of our target indicators. Then we have the district results, the high school, middle school, Damascus, and Knox results all put together there. The new report card is so interactive on the website, and there are so many different pages that I could have printed out. It would have taken a booklet about 10 times as thick to print all of that paper, but this really does a nice job of summarizing exactly where we are. And I would encourage everyone to get on the ODE website, check out our local report card, because it is a whole lot more interactive and much more information than there has been in years past. If you look district-wide, you can see that our target indicators for each of the grade levels and subject areas of testing has been 75% of the students in each grade level passing. West Branch has done very well in that as a district. There's one area in 5th grade math that was 69.5%, and then over at Knox and Damascus, those boxes are bolded if you have one of those reports in front of you, where we fell short of that 75% indicator. But overall as a district, we've met, if you look towards the bottom of that district column, we have met 23 out of 24 indicators, and that is a 95.8%. That used to be one of the major things that we had was, we went from the excellent with distinction to excellent, effective, academic watch, and academic emergency. Used to be the state indicators that they would award to various school districts throughout the state. This year, there is no excellent or excellent with distinction, as we have been for the last several years as a district. They've gone instead with letter grades. And we have letter grades on many different areas, but we don't yet this year have an overall letter grade assigned to the school districts in the state. Next year, the plan is to have an overall letter grade assigned, but I think the State Department is determining what is the weight of each of the indicators that they're going to assign into that overall letter grade. So there's a whole lot of change and a whole lot more information yet to come. But as a district, we got that 95.8%, which is an A, for our indicators here at West Branch that we've met. Of course, the high school had an A, the middle school an A, and Damascus and Knox had a C. But let me explain that a little bit. There are only 4 indicators at Knox and Damascus, and each of those buildings met 3 out of those 4 indicators. So it's not like they did horribly. They missed one of the indicators at each building. But certainly as a district, when we compile all of that data together, we still come out with an A on our report card rating. An interesting note there on the indicators is that next year the state target is going to be 80% versus the 75% that it has been for a number of years. And so we recognize that, and one of our goals as a district is for each of those grade level subject areas to make sure that we hit that 80% target in order to meet the indicator across the board. The performance index is still one of those very similar scores and indicators that we have there as well. And as a district, we were 83.6%, which is a B. And we had 100.4 out of a possible 120 points. just to let you know, that's been right in the ballpark as to where we've been over recent years with that particular rating. So we got a B on that, but we only dropped off very slightly as a district from where we have been in previous years, but we're certainly continuing to work on that. This year they come out with a overall value added grade, and for the district we got an A on that, which is very good. Value added measures the growth of students, and so if you take the average student in West Branch, we are growing at least a year's worth of growth during the course of that instructional year, as measured by the OAAs and the OGTs. They come out with a few more new ratings this year, and one is a gifted value-added rating. So anyone who is identified as gifted also gets put into the pool of people that gives us a score. And we got a C as a district on this year for our gifted value-added. So even our gifted kids who are very high achieving, they do very well academically, that just tells us we need to grow them quite a bit more. We need to bring them up, make sure they achieve at least that year's worth of growth as well. The lower 20% value added is an interesting look. It's not the lowest 20% of our students in the district. What they do is they take the lowest 20% of the students in the state, of which we may have some of them. And for the lower end, we got a B on that lowest 20%. And for students with disabilities, those would be students on IEPs, we got a B rating for that as well. So I know that's a little different look on the report card than what we have seen in previous years. They also have what we call gap closing with annual measurable objectives. In the past, we have had AYP, which has been adequate yearly progress. And that's taking a look at all of our various subgroups of students. Some examples would be whites, blacks, Hispanics, students with disabilities, economically disadvantaged. So those would be some of the categories that fall into what used to be AYP, which is now the AMOs, again, annual measurable objectives. And as a district, we scored a 70.7% on that, which ended up being a B for us. So, and again, each of the grade levels are listed out there. And then the high school has a rating, which also is a district rating, and there's a 4-year graduation rate, which we got a 96%, which is an A, and a 5-year graduation rate, which is 93.2%, which is a B for us as a district. So I know, there are many more of those measurements that have been put in place, but that kind of gives an overall summary as to where we are there. If you turn the next page, what we've done here is we've taken a look at some other area districts, some from just other districts around us, and have compared where West Branch is in comparison to some other schools in the area. And if you look down the columns there, certainly there are some districts that are higher in some of those 9 indicators or grades that are given across the board there. But if you look overall, West Branch has scored very well on the state report card overall. And so that's broken down, as you can see there on the top, by each of those categories I just discussed on the first page, and then also comparing the indicators for each of the grade levels for grades 3 through 8, also 10 and 11. So I just think that's helpful. Thanks to Mr. Trimmer for that, for putting that information together and allowing us to use that in this particular report tonight. The next couple of pages there is the West Branch. This is a document that the high school put together, and I just thought it was very interesting. I'm not going to review this in depth at all, but I wanted to include that just so that you can see some of the data, some of the results that the high school has on those next couple of pages, as well as the course offerings and just a very nicely done school profile document for last year. The next yellow page and the last one is our testing schedule for this current 13-14 school year. And these will be the dates that we're administering the OAAs and the OGTs, as well as some of our diagnostics and other testing. So this is still in draft. We're pretty well locked into this. There's just a little bit of discussion because OAAs this year fall the week immediately after Easter. So we have Easter Sunday. Our students are off on Monday. And it's never good to give a test over a break, which we typically give a reading test on that Tuesday. So we're going to move that to Wednesday this year and then follow up with math and science within that week or the next week is the way that rolls out there. The blue pages in here basically came right off of the ODE website, which is information on just how to read the local report card, how to interpret that. I think it's really good, useful information to kind of lean on there. So I also wanted to touch on, well, here's where we are, so now what? So what are we going to do about that? And I think that's a really important question. And of course, last year, West Branch School District began the OIP, which is the Ohio Improvement Process. And in a nutshell, it's kind of like a strategic plan for school districts in many respects. So we have a district leadership team who began to meet back in the winter. And on that team are certainly with superintendents and board members, administrators, teachers from each of our buildings, as well as a parent on that particular team, made up of about 24 people. And it's been very interesting. We gathered together over a number of days just really to dive into data, taking a look at data, where have we been, what are our students strong in, where are we weak on, where do we really need to focus. And so out of that series of meetings came a district leadership team set of goals. And so we have on the next few pages each of our 3 goals that we have, as well as the strategies for implementation and the action plans. And so this is a very fluid working document that on a monthly basis, our district leadership team will come back together as we've already done a number of times. We'll continue to do that monthly through the school year. And also coming out of our district team, every building has a building leadership team, and that's led by the administrators. Again, we have teachers and support staff, parents, a nice mix of representation on each of those building leadership teams, and they have all done the same type of thing, taking a look at data and going from the district goals, they're designing each of the goals for the building in particular. And board members, I just wanted to point out to you, you notice that there are some green words on here, and they are highlighted. There have been so many acronyms in education that have come our way over the last several years, last couple of years in particular. And so I wanted to just kind of highlight those terms or acronyms in there for you, because it seems like all of these mandates and all these terms come from a variety of different directions. But really, we have put many of them together into our district plan. And it's just a really nice way to compile all that we're mandated to do into a document that helps us move forward and get those things accomplished. So I think that's just really important. And then the other thing I did was highlight in yellow some of those things that we've already got accomplished. Now, that doesn't mean none of the rest of this is done. We're certainly in the process of accomplishing the rest of the action plans that are listed out there. And just for those of you, just in case you're wondering, what are our 3 goals? As a district, I'd like to highlight them Number 1 is reading and math achievement on the West Branch report card will be 80% and/or make a 2% gain annually beginning June 2014. If you remember my comment when we were talking on the first page, that new target has moved from 75 to 80%. So we've made that as one of our district goals. That's a state mandate. That's a goal that we certainly hope to achieve. And the strategies and action plans then certainly follow there. Goal number 2 is 100% of all groups of students. And if you remember, I said earlier about the whites, the blacks, the Hispanics, the economically disadvantaged, the students with disabilities, all of those groups will meet their AMOs, or annual measurable objectives, in reading and math beginning June 2014. And so we've taken, well, I guess what I want you to see is we've taken the data, we've taken the report card information, and we have built in the goals, strategies, and action plans in order to improve in those areas where we have had weaknesses. And then goal number 3 is by June 2014, there will be an increase of 5% or higher of all stakeholders, and that's parents, community, students, teachers, who affirm the belief that all students can and will achieve in a safe and positive atmosphere as measured by surveys twice a year. So out of the district leadership team, we formed a subcommittee who has put together surveys. And at our next district leadership team, we will have those surveys finalized. And I just want everyone here to be aware that those will be put out on the website. And it's going to be in a very easy to use kind of a format electronically, where we can encourage all students, parents, staff, community members to go on and answer these survey questions. And that will give us at least a benchmark for the fall as to where are all of our stakeholders with their belief that all students can and will achieve in a safe and positive environment. And so then we'll do that again at the end of the year, and we'll be able to measure growth over time of where each of our stakeholders in the district are with that. So I hope that helps everybody understand. One of the other interesting state mandates that came out this summer is PBIS, another acronym, and that's Positive Intervention. Yes, thank you. Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports. And so every building is currently working on what does that look like within the building. The middle schools had the opportunity to put together a team that met in June as well as August. And so we have a nice jump start on that. We've really begun to incorporate a lot of positive behavior interventions and supports already. Many of the buildings will have things in place very shortly as well. So I really appreciate the Ohio improvement process. I think it's been very good to get folks together. I have board members sit down with teachers and parents and administrators just to really work together on what are our goals, where are we going, and how are we going to measure the progress along the way. So thanks to those board members who have sat in on that district leadership team and who will continue to, because I think it's just a real valuable process for everybody that's been involved.
I'd like to say, we at West Branch here, we do a lot of things good, or else we wouldn't have been excellent distinction in the last 5 or 6 years. But this OIP process is going to help us be even better, because now we have teachers, administrators, and community all focused in the same direction, which is a very good thing. So.
Absolutely.
Other questions or thoughts? I have one here, a loaded question for
Yes.
you, Mr. Kitzmiller. But so you mean we had all these people out all last year doing this, and we only came up with 3 goals? Shouldn't we have, because I've been in this process before, we should have like 22. Why do we only have 3?
Yeah, and that is a great loaded question that I really appreciate, Dr. Weingart. The idea is we want to keep really focused on doing the main things that we do very well. If we had 10 goals, we would be very scattered over the course of the year in our thoughts and our processes. But by really focusing on 3 specific goals, it's going to keep us focused on the most important things that we as a district need to accomplish.
My other question is, we're all going to go home as usual, and we're going to be happy about our A's and B's, but we're going to ask ourselves about the F's that we see scattered out through there. And I'll editorialize a little bit. I know when this rolled out, there was a concern about that because we're all programmed, right? A, you're doing what you need to do. B, you're doing okay. C, and then D and F, something is amiss and something is wrong. In the comparisons that Mr. Kitzmiller had there, and I appreciate that, you don't see the names of school districts, but many of our neighbors in this area, we have high-performing districts, and we're very pleased about that. But you'll see a number of F's in the area of value added, and value added is something that I think is a little difficult to wrap one's head around, and I'll just try this and then ask you to comment about that. If you have a district or a school that's fairly high-performing, what value added says is I'm going to grow each one of these children a year's worth of growth and react to this. If you're already performing at a high level, isn't it a little more difficult to grow that year? And is that part of what happens when we see, for so many of these folks, including us, F's in the area of value added?
Well, and that can be a thought that is very common. However, our county consultants and the State Department will inform us that the tests that the students take are so varied and wide that it's very difficult for any student to get 100% accuracy on all the questions on the test. And so it is challenging to grow every student, even our gifted students, that year's worth of growth. But built into our district plan is a lot of differentiated instruction. And that's really one of those key phrases that we're working on in order to really individualize instruction for the variety of the students who sit in our classrooms. So we do a pretty good job. However, we can certainly get better at that job that we're doing, and that's what our district leadership team plan does for us. It puts together those strategies and action plans that will help us improve.
And then when a report would go home for parents, this particular kind of data, we would dig down on each one of the children, and the parent would be able to see just exactly where did my student start and then how did my student grow.
Right.
In that particular
For value added, yes.
Yeah. Just one more editorial comment. The value added has been a long time in coming, and it's been a very difficult thing to develop. But I really think it is a valuable piece, especially as you're looking at the growth of your own child, because we all could be sitting in the same room and basically about the same, but we're all starting at different points. And the point of all this is, statistically, we all deserve, no matter where we are, where we start, to grow a year's worth of growth. And now we've got something to do and to look at and to measure, and some ways to allow our teachers to know who's making that, who is not, and then some strategies to help them.
And the nice thing with that value added, the reporting that we get, what it can do for teachers is it'll list out their class that they have, and it kind of gives a list of these students have a likelihood of passing the achievement test. These are the students who are most at risk, and these are the students that really need a lot of work to make sure that they make that year's worth of growth. And they can also go in and get individual reports on each of those students to see what are the projections based on previous data on where those students will score for the following year. And so we're really beginning to dive more into that. We haven't started that yet this year at the middle school. However, that will be coming in the next several weeks, where we look at that value-added data as a building, as a grade level, as a class, and then individual students, so that we can have a better understanding on the types of instruction we need to do to improve their results.
And I'll ask you one more and then certainly open it up to anybody else. As we go around the district, and as board members and community members go around the district, they'll hear teachers, especially at the elementary level, talking about another new phrase, which is data days. Okay, so if
Yes.
I'm showing up at Knox Elementary and it's a day-to-day, what are they doing?
Well, we do that K through 8. We have an opportunity to take a look at the previous year's Ohio Achievement Test scores and/or the what used to be DIBELS, which was a reading assessment, and now we're using STAR reading and math assessments. And so it's taking a look at the data that's collected from all of those assessments as well as classroom performance and identifying any students who may be at risk in particular and figuring out how can we not let them fall through the cracks, but what data can we look at and what plans can we put in place in order to help give them the opportunity for the most success that they can have.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Very interesting stuff. We appreciate that.
How often do you do these data days, data days?
About every 8 to 10 weeks. So at least once, 4 times a year. Generally, it ends up being about 5 times a year. So we definitely take a look at all of the students, but really then focus intentionally on those who are potentially at risk.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
I don't believe there's any old business. Under new business, item 1, recommend acceptance of the following gifts and donations as listed. Most of those are for the staff breakfast and for school supplies.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, please.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 2, recommend approval to John Zamorelli and the Young and Alive to travel to Florida from December 26, 2013 to January 3rd, 2014 to perform at Walt Disney SeaWorld and Busch Gardens.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item 3, recommend to adopt a resolution for a Calamity Day alternative makeup plan for the 2013-2014 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
May I just say one word about that? That is no different than what we've done in years past, and there was a phrase called blizzard bag, or also students having assignments online. And this only kicks in, if you will, if we have been out of school more than 5 days. There's still the 5-day allowance for that, so look at these guys. See, I got their attention with that one.
Item 4, recommend approval to adopt a new middle school discipline plan for the 2013-14 school year.
So moved.
Exhibit 1.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Under personnel, item A, recommend approval to pay student workers under such programs as CBI and other student work study programs at the approved standard rates.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item B, recommend approval to grant Aaron Bernstein a continuing contract for the 2013-2014 school year in accordance with the terms of the negotiated agreement between the WBEA.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item C, recommend approval to place Elizabeth Hall on the salary scale at 90% of the teacher's rate prorated for 7 hours a day, $26,211 as a school nurse.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item D, recommend approval of personnel changes and salary status, Exhibit 2.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Excuse me. Item E, recommend approval to accept the resignation of Cheryl Firestone as a bus driver effective September 20th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Granted.
I always say something when people retire, and even though Mrs. Firestone is not retiring, she has driven bus for us since 1995 and has done that for 18 years and is currently in her 19th year. She's just done an exceptional job for us, and she happens to be on the route. A lot of times people don't realize that in West Branch, Ohio, we have students for various reasons that sometimes travel as far away as Youngstown. In that particular case, that is the bus route that she had for a number of years. And driving a bus isn't easy. You try to drive a bus on the interstate and in downtown Youngstown and that type of thing like that is certainly challenging, and she just did an exceptional job for us with that. And I hated for that she has an opportunity for another position, and we wish her well in that. But she certainly has served us well for many years, and I didn't want that to go unnoted.
Thank you. Item F, recommend approval to employ Tracy Courtney as a 5-hour transportation aide for the 2013-2014 school year.
So moved. Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item G, recommend approval to employ Mindy Steer as secretary in special services for the 2013-2014 school year.
So moved. Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item H, recommend approval to employ John Alt as a substitute administrator at the daily rate of $90 for the 2013-2014 school year on an as-needed basis.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item I, recommend approval to compensate Daniel Hall $15 per hour after-school work rate in accordance with the WBEA contract.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item J, recommend approval to grant supplemental contracts to the following for the 2013-2014 school year in accordance with the terms of the negotiated agreement between the WBEA and the West Branch Board of Education pending certification as listed.
So moved. Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item K, recommend approval to employ Kelly Vrabel as an intervention specialist for the 2013-2014 school year effective October 7th, 2013.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. Item L, recommend approval of professional leave superintendent's assignment request Exhibit 3.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes, and we have one item on the agenda. Recommend approval of the following additions to the 2013-2014 certificated license sublist pending certification as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Treasurer call the roll, please.
Mrs. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Trimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Mrs. Carnegie?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes. No other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Treasurer call the roll. We're adjourned. I declare.
Declare. Don't let those sparkle. They are.